going to have a word of prayer before we get started. Let's bow our heads. Loving Lord and our God, we want to thank you for the wonderful food that you provided for us, but more importantly, the words of life that you're sharing through your manservant. We ask that we would just really digest that food, internalize it, and live so that others may be drawn closer to you. We ask for your Spirit to be here with the rest of the proceedings. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, very good. We're going to get started right away. I got they tell me that we have about, that we have about 21 questions, so needless to say, I need to fly through this so I can get to your questions. I'm sure you want to know. So what I'm going to do is, this in itself, it's almost an hour lecture, so I'm going to get to the point. I'm going to skip through a lot of stuff, and I'm going to allow you to ask for the lecture, okay? So I have it all here. I'm happy to share it with you. It has all the referential data. But if, when I skip these things, you're like, I want to know more about that, write it like a question, and I will get through all the questions, okay? And we'll just make sure that we got it through. So, B12 and D3, do you have enough? This is incredibly important because in today's society, there is a great deficiency of B12, and then even there, we're going to study and look at the difference between functional B12 and in serum B12. There's a great difference between the two of them, and it probably will solve some of the mysteries that you might be dealing with, so pay special attention to that particular one. D3, we're going to be talking about overall vitamin D and its importance and so on and so forth. You will see what it is. Not going to go through this. Anyone new here that was not in the prior lectures? No. Okay, very good. So we can skip this. All right, so what is vitamin B12? Well, vitamin B12 known as cobalamin. It's a water-soluble vitamin. What is it? Very good. That is very different than vitamin D, which happens to be a lipid-based vitamin or a fat-soluble vitamin. There is a difference between the two, and that's why I'm making the difference. B12 is water soluble. This means that when you ingest it, it is taken right in the beginning of the small intestine, which is the duodenum, and is taken right up from the duodenum into the liver and is then metabolized in your body. Very important that you look at it. The metabolism part is quite complex, but that's pretty much how it will work. It is very important for red blood cells formation. It plays a role in the production of red blood cells, and of course these carries oxygen throughout the body, and so adequate levels of vitamin B12 is necessary to maintain their health and production. Cell metabolism. B12 is involved in the cell metabolism, which includes the processes to maintain the function of our cells and provide energy. And within the energy realm in the cell, at the cellular level, there is something called the ATP process. That's the process by which your cells do actually make energy. It's quite a phenomenal thing how they all work together, but B12 is very important in the ATP process so that you could have energy. You will see in a moment why. All right, it is also very important for nerve function. It is essential to maintain the myelin sheath. Now, I gave you a teaser before. What's the myelin sheath? It protects the connection between the neurons. So it's the neuron over here, and of course you remember back in AP, our brains work in what is called weighted neural network. That is, the neural network has information, and the pathway that has the most weight, that's why it's weighted neural network, is the one that wins when you're making decisions. And so that pathway that it goes through, if the myelin sheath is compromised, the pathway does not get to fire. and you get a disconnect. That's why the Parkinson individual or Alzheimer's doesn't have the capability, although the neurons are there, they're just not connecting because that myelin sheath has been compromised, and when the neuron's trying to fire the information, the other one is like, what was that? You know, like, you know, I don't know what to do with that halfway information, or you get no signal at all. So that myelin sheath, whenever you hear that myelin sheath, very, very important, because that will support your cognitive health, your brain, which, by the way, here is this astonishing fact. How much of your brain gray matter do we use? To give me a percentage, throw it out there. 10%. 10%, no. 3%. 3%. No, come on, brother. gotta help that guy a little bit more. So the average individual, you and I, 5%. The geniuses of this world, 7%. That means that you and I have enough gray matter, neurons in our brain, capacity to literally put our lifetime 9 times over, and we have some room left. That is 9 different jobs, 9 different languages, 9 different skills all together, and we still have brain capacity. So the capacity of our brain is incredible. We are not tapping into it like we should. So processes like memorization, being able to study hard matters, problem solving, this enlarges your capacity for your brain to gather information. Just a little bit of trivia. You know, back in the days, in the Jewish community, it was known that the rabbi will have to memorize, not just cite some of the verses, but memorize the first 5 books of the Bible by heart. Straight up. So we're telling the people that today we're smarter than then. I'm not sure about that. So anyway, DNA production, B12 is involved in the production of DNA, which is the genetic material that helps for all of the other cells to produce. It is very important in B9, which is folate, which is one of the most important substances that a female that is expecting needs to be aware of. Okay? I'm sure your doctor would talk to you about that. Cell growth, I already talked about that. Of course, you know about RNA and mRNA, right? And so we heard about all that goodness in COVID. Fat metabolism, amino acid metabolism, and the nerve systems. All right, how is this possible? I want you to study that chart for me a little bit. These are vegetarians having more strokes than meat eaters. What? Exactly. That's a slide from the clinical study. Vegetarians having more stroke than meat eaters. How is that possible? Well, Pedro, I guess you have to take your slides back from the other presentation, right? Like, you're all wrong, because there's the research showing that vegetarians are having more total strokes than meat eaters. But here's the part that they don't tell you in the slides. Every single vegetarian that was in that study was vitamin B12 deficient. So what's happening here is that the lack of B12 would increase your homocysteine. Your homocysteine will then aid in the formation of plaques within your arteries. This will lead instead into atherosclerosis, which of course you know what happens when that clog by high pressure moves. If it moves and it gets to the heart, how do we call that? Heart attack, because it blocked the artery or the vein from the heart. If it gets to the brain, what do we call it? A stroke or aneurysm. So the main part here to recognize is that vegetarians that do not pay attention to the B12 status could have more strokes than a meat eater. Because it's the whole package, folks, and that's the part that I want you to recognize. You have to pay attention to the whole package. Now, why is this a big problem nowadays? Let me give you a little thing. B12 comes pretty much from a bacterium. And we used to get it because everybody used to work in the garden. And where did they get it? Let's see, where did the cows get the B12 from? From the grass. When you eat the cow, you're eating secondhand grass. That's really what you're eating. So the cow gets the B12 because of the grass and the bacterium there. You eat the cow and get in turn some of that B12. But the practice or the best is for you to go straight to the source. So have a garden, work outside, work with the soil. You'll be able to acquire some of that B12. However, in our days, even our soil is being depleted. And so I strongly recommend having supplementation of B12 at least once a week. We'll get into that for a moment. What happens when you don't have enough? You can experience anemia, nerve damage, mood changes. I'm going to skip through all this, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. You will experience digestive issues, heart palpitations, problems in pregnancy, and this is because of all this stuff. Weakness and fatigues, vision problems, muscle weakness. Now, where can we get the food, the best sources? Well, the industry will tell you that you can get it from meat, poultry, fish, and dairy. I call this second-hand sources, because I ask myself the question, where did they get it from? Right? And the question is easily answered. Well, they got it from their food source. Well, why can't we just skip the cow and go to the grass? And that's exactly what we have for salad today, right? You're skipping the cow, going for the grass. And so this is going straight to the food source. I do recommend, if it is at all possible, having a fortified source of it or an oral supplementation. Of course, if you're in a category for which you need the intravenous part of it, there is B12 injection. And less invasive, there is nasal sprays, which will go right into your bloodstream of B12 as well. All right, which form is best? I don't have enough time to break this down. Cyanocobalamin is the best unless you have kidney impairment, in which the methylcobalamin will be the best because of the way that is metabolized. All right? If your kidneys is working well, then cyanocobalamin is the best. If your kidneys are not working well, then methylcobalamin will be best because of the compromised kidneys. What is the best form? Well, chewable or sublingual or liquid. Those are the ones that go in directly. Not the gummies, not the extra sugar, crazy, whatever. I just get my one that is in powder. You can take it in, put it sublingual, and it will go very fast. It's one of those dissolvables that you can put underneath your tongue. All right, be careful, because when B12 is put with other vitamins, it could be counterindicative, meaning the other vitamins will fight with the B12 and cancel each other out, so to speak. So very important to take it by itself. It's one of the main portions. Now, a regular individual needs 2,000 mcg, not grams, okay? So that's micrograms. There is a difference there. So 2,000 mcg each week, which comes out to about 50 mcg daily. That is if you're under 65. If you're over 65, you need to take 1,000 mcg daily. There's a big difference there between the dose of 50 and 1,000. And that's because as we get older, we lose the capability of some of the absorption of it. So we have to increase it. So if you're over 65, how much is it? 1,000. It's 1,000. Oh, you're still awake. That's good. All right. How do I know if I have enough? Go get tested. Oh, my doctor doesn't want to give me the test. That's okay. Here in the United States, you can go to that website that is there, and you can get it. It's very inexpensive. You're talking about $30-some. You can get your test. These networks are connected with Quest Labs, which are nationwide. And so they will write the prescription, and you can go get your test and your lab results, and then go and discuss it with your doctor and be able to have that. So you can get tested very easily, very inexpensively, and figure out if you have a deficiency in B12. But wait a minute. Could it be possible that you go get tested and your vitamin 12 shows B12 that you're fine, but you still have the same symptoms that we described before? Could it be possible that you would have vitamin B12 in serum, meaning in your blood, that is showing okay, because that's the B12 that is free, kind of floating around, so to speak, but at the cellular level, you have dysfunctional B12? Meaning your functional B12 at the cellular level is still deficient, while you're in serum B12, it still shows that you have enough. Well, let's read it straight from Dr. Michael Greger, which happens to be one of the most cited clinicians when it comes to nutrition-based medicine. He is also the president of Nutrition Facts. Most physicians tend to assume that if, and remember, these are physicians, not regular population, but the physicians, the doctors, most doctors, physicians, tend to assume that if the vitamin B12 level in your blood is normal, there is no problem. But within the lower range of normal, 30% of patients would have metabolic B12 deficiency. That's in the cell, with high homocysteine levels. So your physician, when it's looking at the B12, might discard the issue while you're still having all the symptoms and you don't know what in the world is going on. You have to explore the possibility of functional B12 or being a problem. All right, so how do you know? How can you tell? Well, there is the MMA test. This is the best test. It's a blood test. And this, measuring the methylmalonic acid levels, will give you an indicator of where your homocysteine is. If this sounds like Greek to you, that's okay. Go get the test and discuss it with your physician. All right, so that way you are sure that you are not only looking at your B12, but you're looking at your functional B12 as well, and make sure that everything is good. If you wanted to read the results yourself, you can. It's not rocket science. You want your MMA to be in the single digits, underneath 10. You're looking for less than a value of 4, and that will be the best in that regard. Of course, again, have that conversation with your physician so you can talk about it. Oh, excuse me. At the end, the choice is yours. God wants to give you that health in collaborating with His ways, but Satan wants to destroy you. It all comes back to the choices that you and I make. All right, let me fly to D3, because I think this one we know more about. Whoopsie. Let me go back. All right, so why is sunlight important? Well, because all of these reasons. It boosts serotonin. It helps prevent depression, including SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. It helps support better sleep. It strengthens the bone health. It enhances immune function, improves the skin condition, lowers blood pressure, and may reduce the risk of certain cancers. Does that sound like a good plan to you? And you get all that from the sun. How much you pay for that? 0. Friends, it's incredible. Now, I'm gonna not share with you every single clinical part that is there, because it's gonna take us a while. But every single one of those points, I have clinical data behind it that I can show you. I will show you this one. It's important. If you are Caucasian and you go up there and expose yourself to the sun, you could, the word there key is could, absorb somewhere around 50,000 IUs, okay? That's international units. If you are tanned, maybe somewhere around 20 to 30. If you're dark-skinned, that's 8 to 10 at best. That's thousands IUs. So what does that mean? That if you're a female and you're experiencing SAD and you expose yourself to the sun, you'll have to expose yourself to the sun 5 times more than your sister who is Caucasian because of the color of your skin. Why is that so? Well, because sun, where the ultraviolet rays hit your skin, interact with cholesterol underneath your skin level, and that's what makes the D3. Okay? It's very important to pay attention to the color of your skin. It helps with cancer. We already said that. It's really good for skin conditions. This comes from the WHO, which I find it incredible that they will be promoting this, but they do. Very, very good. It's called the sunshine vitamin for what I just explained to you. It's metabolized when the sun hits your skin, etc. I'm skipping through a lot of stuff. Let me go back because, let me read this part. So vitamin D is very important also because it regulates the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. facilitating normal immune functions. Getting sufficient vitamin D is important for normal growth and development of the bones and the teeth, as well as improved resistance against certain diseases. So D, vitamin D, is linked with what else? 2. And phosphorus, right. And those two are very important for bone health, right? That's what holds your bones together. That's why if you don't have enough, you will have osteomyalgia or osteoporosis, right? Oh, but Pedro, I drink my cow's milk. It's fine. I got plenty of vitamin D there. Well, I got news for you. Unfortunately, if you drink vitamin D in the cow's milk thinking that you're going to have enough, the bad news is that you won't. And here's the reason why. When you have the higher concentration of calcium that comes in the cow's milk, in order to be metabolized by your system, it actually gives you too much. Then the body has to use a buffer to be able to get rid of it, and it ends up being counterproductive. This is why females who eat cheese and drink dairy end up with bone fractures very easily in the United States. You would think that is completely the opposite. They will have bones like of a steel because they're drinking cow's milk. The problem is the quantity. See, cow's milk is made for cows. Do you know how many pounds a baby cow weighs? Take a guess. 150. Yeah, around there. How much does a baby weight?
7 pounds.
Just look at the difference in pounds. That milk is designed for a baby cow that is about 10 times larger than a baby human. Now, mother's milk is designed for humans. You take mother's milk, and that's perfectly fine. So next time you find mother's milk in the store, you buy it. I'm not sure that you might want to try that. So yeah, stick to the sources that we find in nature, and so that comes from the cruciferous family in its majority. What happens when you have vitamin D? Well, it helps fight disease, not bite. Well, it bites it too, I guess. Fight disease, reduce depression, boost weight loss. Do you know that? Because it enhances the metabolism and your hormone levels. Okay? Vitamin D can also help you lose weight. What happens if you don't have it? You're going to feel tired, achy, grouchy, will have pains, and general sense of not feeling well. Okay? Severe bone and muscle pain, weakness, which may cause difficulty in climbing stairs. You'll have stress fracture, especially in your legs, pelvis, and hips. And this happens to be one of the largest bone areas, but because of the fact that you are depleted of the calcium because of all these practices, your bones are actually being robbed of the calcium in there to actually take care of that so high of an intake. All right, let's talk about practically what can you do. Test yourself. What did I say you can do? Test yourself. That's right. Be very intentional about this. Make sure that you are taking, if you need to kind of maintain, about 10,000 IUs per day, and you will feel a blessing. Exercise daily, 30 minutes a day. Here's a quick rule of thumbs. If you're not sweating, you're not exercising. Do you hear me? If you're not sweating, you're not exercising. Oh, I walked 3 miles. I asked the person, do you sweat? No. I said, okay, you're not exercising. Well, what do you mean I'm walking 3 miles? I say, yeah, you're walking 3 miles and your cardiovascular system is not even feeling it. You got to raise your heart rate above 120, okay, so that you can begin to feel the effects. You got to sweat when you exercise. Ladies, premenopausal, postmenopausal, and during menopause, you got to sweat 30 minutes a day. You will thank the Lord when you start doing it. I'm telling you, it will make a difference in your life like nothing else. And please, 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 this is especially to the ladies, stop the poisons. I'm serious. I have a whole lecture about all of the different poisons that is in your makeup, in your hair products, and in all the craziness that the devil has invented. I mean, literally, if I read you the ingredients that the dermatologists, not just me, the dermatologists are telling you, and what it gives you, and I say, I'll pay you $1,000 if you dunk your head into this bucket of these chemicals, nobody will want to do it. But yet you go home and you dye your hair, and guess what happens? The dye runs through your hair follicle and it goes into your bloodstream. And you put the makeup on, which literally, unequivocally is shown to create cancer. I mean, folks, I don't know what to tell you, but it's a big fat lie, and the ladies of our era has bought into it. God has made you beautiful like you are. Oh, I don't look like a supermodel. They're fake. They're fake. Let me tell you, they're fake. They're absolutely fake. I mean, listen, when I buy a white rose for my wife, I don't put lipstick on the white rose. I give it to her white and beautiful like it is. That's how it is. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And your Heavenly Father has made you beautiful like you are. It's just that simple. You have to learn to be secure in yourself, not to live underneath the skin of another woman, but live underneath the beauty that God has given you. And I know that takes a lot of courage for you ladies, but I'm encouraging you, don't put the toxins on. You will be sorry. That's all I'm going to say. All right, I normally ask you to take some time, put this stuff. I'm not going to do that. Boy. How about this? Let's take the questions, and if you want to, it's up to you, I will give you the story, okay? Which is really a clinical study where, well, I can give you the story now, so I'll have to skip it. It was quite interesting. I'll finish with this promise. For behold, the day comes that shall burn us in oven. And the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And that day that shall come shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts, and shall leave neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, what an apt illustration, arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as the cows of the stall. You know, I love God's word. Personally, I have to tell you, because I see that it has so much insight for us, his creatures. All right, so now it's your time. Let's go into Q&A. And if you want to, we'll go back to the story afterward, and we'll go. So I'm going to preface this. When she asks me the question, I'm going to answer it with either some information. It's going to be fast because we got 21 of them, and I want to not bore you to death here. But in some of them, I might say, drop me an email. Okay, I've given my email before, but I can give it to you again. It's pedro@health7.tv, and you can just drop me a line, and I'll be happy to give you more information, because I might just refer you to some clinical data that I might have already, and it'll be easier for you to read it all than for me to have to explain it here. Is that fair to everyone? Yes? Okay, let's go for it.
So the first question is there any correlation with chronic pain and gut health? And there's an arrow pointing to plus inflammation.
Yes, I think I showed that already in the lectures. One of the things that you have increase of is pain. Let me just take this back. Is the transmission of the pain signal. So maybe taking a step back, how do you feel pain? You feel pain through your nerve system, okay? And so when the nerve sends a signal that you have pain, your brain gets it, and that's how you know you have pain. That's why when you put anesthesia on, the pain is still there, the signal is being sent, but your brain is not reading it. And so you don't feel it, so you think. But afterwards, you will feel it. Does that make sense? It's just that simple. So what happens with inflammation is, whenever inflammation increases, automatically your pain level will increase. Why? Because as the area is inflamed, all of that nervous system gets squeezed and pushed together in ways that are not supposed to, and that then in turn accelerates more of this pain transmission. So yes, there is a correlation. And so when you decrease inflammation, and when you decrease the sources that cause these issues, your pain levels will decrease. This year I was in not Panama, what's the country? Guatemala, yes, Guatemala. And over there, we don't have the medicine that we have here. So I taught them about the pineapple cure. Okay, and I'm going to explain it to you because I'm going to probably refer back to it again. So it's very simple. The pineapple, the core of the pineapple has an active constituent called bromelain, an incredible anti-inflammatory, okay? Remember the lady who made her testimony and she was talking about how her legs were numb, that's neuropathy, and then she couldn't walk or put her foot down and so on and so forth, and she took two things. Remember what were the two things?
DMSO.
And what was the other one? Alpha-linoleic acid, okay? So those are the two things that she took. Now, DMSO, which currently is banned for medical purposes in the United States, is an incredible anti-inflammatory. That's why she could now have that area back, to with that normal reception. So that's what DMSO per se has been studied. It has been studied in many other substances, but there is a, let's just say, interesting phenomenon going around those things that led to certain decisions by legislation. Do some research about it. It's quite an interesting read, okay? But that's why she received that result, because I believe by God's grace that decreased her inflammation, which then therefore show the things that were good. So anyway, bromelain, back to the pineapple. You take a pineapple, you peel it, make sure that all the little eyes and everything else is out of there. And you know how the pineapple is kind of straight up like this, right? And you cut it this way. So everything, you cut it this way. You take that top half and you blend it. Just blend it, make it like a smoothie, and you with everything in there, and you take it 30 minutes before your breakfast. You take the other half, and you blend it, and you take it 30 minutes before your lunch, and you do that for 10 days. And after those 10 days, you will incredibly receive the blessings of the anti-inflammatory properties of bromelain. And not only that, but it will literally alkalinize your kidneys. I mean, I can go on and on and on of the things that it will do for you. It will be a real blessing, something you can try, and it could be something that will be a blessing for you. So the correlation says you got to go back to a plant-based diet, decreased inflammation, etc.
How does sucralose affect the brain?
How does?
Sucralose?
The sugar.
Oh, sucrose. Okay, okay, gotcha. So sucrose, lactose, or fructose, they're all types of sugars. They're just found in different places, okay? And all types of sugars, together with simple and complex carbohydrate, break down to glucose. And glucose is what your system uses overall for being able to use energy. Glucose is consumed by the ATP process at the cellular level to be able to make energy. Unless you are not on glucoses and you have turned to ketosis. So when does this happen? If you're fasting for 3 days. In a normal individual, fasting for 3 days will turn you to ketosis, which means that now you're burning fats for energy rather than glucose. And so sucrose and such, they're just sugars, right? They will be broken down to glucose, which would increase. Here is what happens. Blood sugar rises, and the body says, wait a minute, that's not normal. Sugar is not supposed to be free like that. So then the body sends something to take the sugar down. What is it? Insulin, that's right. And so sugar rises, and right after sugar rises, what rises? Insulin in the blood. And the insulin takes the sugar and says, listen, buddy, you're not supposed to be here. Let me escort you to Mr. Liver. And when the liver says, I'm full, then it says, let me escort you to the fat cells. That's right. And when the fat cells can't take it anymore, then it says, let me escort you to the kidneys. And then it's disposed through the urine, okay? Now, when this cycle continues, how does the body take down high insulin? Because remember, glucose led to high insulin. How does the body then attenuate insulin? Anybody? By calcium from your bones. That's why I say defective cycle. Have you ever heard of the caffeine high? So you get the caffeine high, and the caffeine high will then constrict your blood vessels. It will make your blood pressure go up, right, which increases your capability to have a heart attack or a stroke. And so whenever you have a action to the body, there will be a reaction to be able to attenuate it. And so that's the main point, that you got to look at the sugar cycle. When you have high sugar, it's not just the high sugar and the high insulin, is later on what happens to attenuate the insulin, which is that calcium. And that's why you then have issues with your bones. Very important to make sure that we do not eat the free sources of the sugars. Is it a problem to have fructose? No, in its natural form. Where do you find fructose? In fruits. And where does it always combine to? Fiber. It's fine. If you have saccharose, you can have saccharose in the complex carbohydrates, no problem, as long as it is found to the original source. Whenever you take it away from the original source, that's the issue. There's a big difference between apple smoothie and apple juice. Apple juice will give you a sugar spike just like Coca-Cola. Oh, but it was apple without the fiber. Do you find any apple juice tree? None. You get my point? So the point is, stick to the original. Now, just because you're my sweetheart, I have to give you the opportunity to do this. Yes?
I think what they're saying is sucralose is an artificial sweetener they put in Splenda. It's for diabetics.
Oh, I got you.
So what they're saying is they're putting it, as a healthy thing because it's 0 calorie, sugar, and then there's a lot of drinks like that out there. 0 calorie, helpful for diabetics. But it's artificially made, it actually damages other parts of the gut and the body.
That is correct, because all of these substances, especially with the face sugars, they have to be filtered by who? After who? That's right. So the first filter, the big filter of the body, is the liver. All blood goes through there. And the second filter of the body is the kidneys. You got 2 of those. Praise the Lord. So when you take the substances in there that are completely human-made, all that you get is chaos. Because they're human-made. That's all you get from humans, chaos. Truly. You cannot do better than the Creator. When you want to eat your original stuff, stick to the original source. Oh, Pedro, I'm a diabetic. I cannot have fruit. I challenge that. Did you know that Dr. Elsenson, in a complete plant-based diet, in less than a week, can take care of diabetes? Less than a week. Less than a week. The problem is not the sugar. The problem is the sugar without the fiber. And now don't go add fiber to your sugar. You know what I'm saying? You go back to the original. You know what I'm trying to say? The fructose, the saccharose, the lactose, well, lactose because it comes from milk, that is a problem. In the mother's milk, not a problem. But that's not the issue. The issue is that we tinker with it, mess it up. And so fake sugars are fake sugars and they're for fake people. It's the truth. I mean, it's, that's why I call it fake up. Not makeup, because that's what it is, fake up. No, the truth is, folks, it will kill you. If you want to read more about the studies about this, go to nutritionfacts.org. Dr. Michael Greger has a lot of clinical data behind it, and he is incredibly well-versed in this area. Go ahead.
Any recommendations on parasitic cleanses?
Oh, you have some extra folks in there that are not paying rent, I see. Okay, well, for those folks who are not paying rent, or are not supposed to be there because they're not paying rent, and yes, you had some at lunch. Guess what it was?
Lemon seeds.
What was it? That is correct, madam. In Nigeria, the clinical studies show that pumpkin seeds are used as the main dewormer. Now, if you had a sweet wormwood, that would be something else that could actually help you in that regard. Now, if you're going to take the pumpkin seed, I am going by memory now, but I believe it was something around 2.5 grams per day of pumpkin seed, ground pumpkin seed. Please email me and I'll send you a copy of the study, because I just went to Guatemala and literally that's what we gave. And so pumpkin seed is one of the main worms. Now you have to ask yourself the question, why are the worms there to begin with? Right? Let's see, let's do a little bit of research. Where do we see worms that grow on things? Where do we find that? In the healthy apple or in the decayed apple? Decayed apple. Do you see it also like in meat that is being putrefied? I wonder. Let's see, we can't really digest meat, so it has to putrefy. There it goes. Putrefied meat in your guts will lead to what? Worms. Parasites, right? And you know, this is one of the most traumatizing classes when I was taking my training, because they sometimes like to go outside for a little peek and then they go back inside. That's why sometimes there's itchiness around the anus. Yeah, not a pretty picture, pretty traumatizing. It left me kind of traumatized. So anyway, the point is, those guys are there, they're not paying rent, they're supposed to be out. So if you do, the pumpkin seed will be a real blessing. Now there are other formulas that can help. Sweet wormwood, okay, Artemisia annua, not Artemisia asbestos. There's a difference. Artemisia annua would be recommendable for this in a 10-day on and 10 days off cycle, because Artemisia is pretty strong. Okay, and you will find it online about 1,000 milligrams per day, as you'll be able to do that. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What are the fingers in my colon?
So they're not quite fingers. They're called violi, and they look like little fingers. I have to take it. Well, hold on a second. Let's see if I can do this. I think I have it on. Is it on? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, here it is. No, not quite. Let's see if this one does a better picture of. Well, not quite like. Well, that was helpful. Well, this is kind of like it is. This is really what it looks like if you were to take a cross-section of it. What in the world is going on here? Let me just try to enlarge it. Here we go. Oh, okay, maybe this will work. Okay, this will work. Here we go. Okay, all right. So the villi are the little fingers. That's literally how, this is a cross-sectional. So if you were to take your lining, which obviously is round, right? So it's, the gut is round. And so you take a cross-sectional, so you go this way. And so you're looking at a cross-sectional view of that, okay? Now these guys are the little fingers that they're called the villi. And there's actually, it's even more fascinating, around each one there is microvilli. That actually does the work. But all of these are put together. They're like little fingers, so to speak, like that. And so as the carbohydrates are broken down, these are the guys that absorb it right into the bloodstream. Notice? You see that connection down there? Okay? And they literally work like with the wave as it's coming. The peristalsis wave moves the food, and as the food comes by, they literally kind of grab the things that they need. Now, let's say you take soy milk. But your soy milk has carrageenan. Okay, carrageenan, which is a milk thickener, will then take all of these guys and it will stick them together so they are immobilized. Okay, they stick together like this. Now they can't really move, and now as the content of the food moves along, they move like this. They're depressed. Okay, and that's pretty much what you find there. So how can you help rejuvenate this? Is by fasting. But not just fasting one time, but fasting every day. How can you fast every day and have food at the same time? It's simple. It's called intermittent fasting. Have a strong breakfast, have a strong lunch, forego the dinner. And that way, you will have intermittent fasting every day, and it will rejuvenate all of the villi in your gut, and your gut will thank you. I'm telling you, it's real. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a natural way to remove lead from the body successfully?
Yes, it's called the chelation process. Send me an email and I can send you the protocol for it. There is a particular herb that is taken in a certain way, and you also have to increase the water content that you're taking every day, as well as remove the original source of the lead, right? If you're living in an old building, has lead paint all over the place, and you're breathing that in, and you want to remove the lead from your blood, well, that's not going to work, right? So be able to eliminate those heavy toxins out of those things that are there. If you're a painter, if you're in construction and you're a painter, pay attention. This could be a real deal for you, and it will change your life. Any of these high metals and heavy metals, very important. There's the chelation process. I can show you how to do that. Shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to share that with you.
What are foods for high blood pressure?
This is very interesting. So, you get high blood pressure when you drink your coffee. So that's your normal artery or vein, and when you drink your coffee, it goes. And so the blood has to still travel through, so what does heart do? Increases the blood pressure. So it pushes the blood and gets you stopped there. And it also happens when you have lots of fat content in your meal. The fat builds around the walls, and it makes it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until there is no way to go around. And when the heart has to punch and punch and punch, or pump in a sense, not punch, but pump so hard, then that clog will move. And when it moves and it travels to your heart, we call that a heart attack. When it moves and it travels to your brain, we call that a stroke or aneurysm. So, your diet, basically. Your exercise, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. There are things that we can do to accelerate that process. Now, let me just tell you things you can do immediately. If you've chosen to do the right diet and you want to deal with it right away, the citrics that are acidic will lower your blood pressure. Okay, so what I tell my clients is that if you're having a hypertensive attack, you will take 6 ounces of straight lemon juice as a shot, and it will lower your blood pressure right away. Okay? If you're having a hypotensive attack, meaning your blood pressure has dropped too low, then you take a pinch of salt and you put it underneath your tongue, and the sodium will interact with your bloodstream, and it will heighten your blood pressure naturally. Okay? Now, outside of that, you gotta take care of your health. Those are just interventions to be able to go through. And of course, keep an eye on what's going on with your electrolytes. Remember that the heart, which is a muscle, is actuated or stimulated by the electrostimuli, yet it's still a reaction that carries those electrolytes with you, right? Which mainly are potassium, magnesium, and sodium. Right? When you go to the hospital and they put that magic liquid in you, that's nothing more than electrolytes. Literally, that's all there is. Okay? And they're hydrating you because you're probably dehydrated. When I was in India, the years that we were gone, more than 90%, and we saw hundreds of people, more than 90% of the people that I saw were clinically dehydrated. It was terrible because they don't drink water. Because the ladies are afraid to go to the bathroom because they could be assaulted. Very sad. Anyway, yes?
you talked about carrageenan before,
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
was trying to find this question, but I wasn't fast enough.
Sure.
What does carrageenan do to your body?
So I was trying to remember the name of the doctor years back, and I think it was somewhere around 6 to 10 years back. This doctor, I think it was something Lee. I have to go back and read and research it again or pull it back. She went before Congress. And she testified before Congress of what will happen if we Americans do not take the carrageenan out. Of course, the lobbying group of dairy happened to be on the floor, and she was dismissed. And all of the things that she went to testify before Congress, we are doing today. So what it will lead to you? It will lead basically to leaky gut and IBS. That's the major two things. So what will happen when you have leaky gut and IBS? You will be in a hormonal mess. That's exactly what's going to happen. Because remember that the gut will control not only the immunity of your body, and is part of it, but also the hormonal balance of things as well. And so you will be an absolute hormonal mess. And if you're a female, even more so. And if you're premenopausal, even more so. So you got to really pay attention to this thing. Stay away from it. I think it is West soy in the soy milks that doesn't have any carrageenan. Soy, what do they call soy milk or soy, whatever the brand is? Silk. That one has carrageenan, and so many of the other ones. Good. I'm glad that it did. Okay. So.
Okay, here's an IBS question.
Uh-oh.
IBS, just fiber and exercise? Trauma, physical abuse, auto accidents affect mental health, diet? That's what it says on the card, so.
I'm going to try to interpret that. So, IBS, physical exercise, yes. There are 8 steps or 8 laws of health, which I've condensed into my lectures of 7 steps to health. I have actually shared them here before, a couple years back. So if you go back and look at those recordings, you'll be able to get them completely for free. If you want to check them out, they're in Udemy, which is more of an online university. You can look it up in there, and you'll be able to find the 7 steps to health, which has all of this stuff. So as you put in practice the 8 laws of health, you have the entire package. Can you just eat well, do exercise, and not go to sleep on time and reap all the benefits? No. Because not going to sleep on time will disrupt your REM period of sleep, which then disrupts your deep tissue repair, which then means that you're going to end up being a mess. Does that make sense? So it's a package. That's what I tell people. It's a total package. Now I'm gonna teach you something that I teach in other lectures. So let's all stand up for a moment, and this you'll feel much better. And let's walk in place, because I know that we're getting to the yes lecture now time. Okay, that food is getting there. Let's walk in place, and let's do what is called the 4-2-6 breathing method. Okay, it's 4 inhaling through your nose, is 2 holding it. Come on, keep on moving. You're still moving. And 6 exhaling through your mouth. That's right. So let's try it. Deep breath and exhale. Very good. One more time. Come on, let's do this. Exhale. That is such a blessing. You may be seated. By the way, this 4-2-6 breathing method was the difference for a lady that came to one of the Amen clinics. I was there as in the area of hydrotherapy. She wanted to have a dental procedure done. The high blood pressure for her was nearing 180, I think it was. And she was going to, and the doctor said, I'm sorry, I can't put you under anesthesia, I can't have it. One of the doctors in the area knew that I was in the hydroperic, so she brought it to me and said, hey Pedro, here, lower her blood pressure so you can have the operation. I'm thinking, what in the world you want me to do? But a quick prayer to the Lord, He gave me wisdom, and so we had her hydrate. So she drank 16 ounces of water, Okay, and after that I said, all right, let's take a walk in the parking lot with your daughter who was accompanying her. Let's do the 4-2-6 breathing method. This will lower your blood pressure. And when she came back, she was completely normal and she was able to have her procedure. So the things that God has created for us in our system are incredibly powerful. We just have to learn how to use them, okay?
After that procedure, how long did her blood pressure stay down?
I don't know because I didn't have access to her afterwards. But it was long enough for her to have the procedure and be calm about it. Yes, ma'am.
Keto? Question mark.
Yes.
Raw milk, organic meats.
Of course.
Many are having good health changes doing keto. Can you move REM hours 10 to 2?
Isn't that something? Yes, at least I appreciate the question. So let's take it one at a time. What's the keto diet? What's the keto diet? Come on.
Protein, carb.
Huh?
High protein, low to no carb.
That's right. No to low carb. Okay, and the high protein. What's the logic behind the keto diet? What's the reasoning behind it? True. But what's the reasoning behind it? Because the ancestors used to hunt and gather before, right? And all they had was the kill that they found, right? And they were all ripped and really good and everything else. Well, there's a couple of things there that don't make a whole lot of sense, but let me just kind of get back to this. So you can't never outdo nature. Okay? And whenever you go back to the original part, in there, you will find that they were high in fiber, not in meat. Meat was a commodity that they had to raise for the average person, all right, that they had there. So when you have this diet, what it's doing for you is that it's loading you with, what's the main thing that you eat in keto?
Protein.
Which comes from? Meat. And of course, you know that, right? That meat has a transit time of 72 hours. So what happens to the gut after you put it through the abuse of continual work with no rest? Have you read those studies? Because they've done them. So when you look at the keto diet, you have a change originally that comes in because you force the body to ketosis. Now, when you force the body to ketosis, you're forcing the body to run in emergency mode 24/7. What happens when you have high adrenaline 24/7? What happens eventually? Come on, nurses. You know it happens to you sometimes, because I'm telling you, it happens to nurses and doctors. It's a 12-hour shift, and you're high, running from patient to patient. You know what happens after 12 hours? You crash, right? That's exactly what happens, and that's exactly what happens to the digestive system. In a period of time of about 5 years, the crash comes, and it comes mighty and terrible. Dr. Michael Greger has done a lot of studies about this in the keto diet, and I can tell you the consequences of using your gut are not a good one. There is another problem with this. Somebody asked me about visceral fat, and I'm sure you guys know about that. So visceral fat is here in the visceral area, and what's behind it? What's here? What's right here? It's not your stomach. Your stomach is here. But what's here? That's right. In the middle you have the small intestine, and around it, up here, you have the large intestine. Okay, so behind the visceral fat, what is there then? The intestines. That's right, very good. And so what happens is this fat is called bioactive fat. It's not just like any fat. Why is it? Because the toxins that escape through that area and that go through the intestinal wall are stored in that fat. So let's see what happens. If we turn the individual to ketosis, now you're burning fat for energy, and all of that fat is burned, what is also released into the bloodstream? The toxins that were trapped in the fat. And so this person begins to have a bunch of other issues because, number one, they're probably not drinking enough water, okay, mostly dehydrated, and they're thinking that the keto diet is the cure-all. Again, the reality is you cannot outdo the Creator's plan. And the Creator's plan, I mean, verified, triple verified, redone in every possible clinical setting that you can look at, is that the whole plant, whole grain, plant-based diet is the best for human consumption. Period. It's just, there's no question about it. Read the China study, the largest study to human history to date. And the conclusion was there is no better source. So when you look at these diets, they put you in a state that make you feel good, but the consequences that come after are horrendous. And so I would encourage you to look up. Now, she also mentioned some other things. It was keto and what else?
Can you move REM hours?
Oh, gotcha. Can you move the REM period of sleep? Wouldn't that be possible? Wouldn't that be wonderful? No, because to move the REM period of sleep, you will have to move just about our entire solar system. Let me explain why. The circadian rhythm in our bodies is supposed to be aligned to the rhythm of light and darkness that we have in our day cycle. The light and darkness cycle that we have, and no, this is not black magic craziness, this is pure science. The light and darkness cycle that we have is controlled by the sun, which is controlled by the rotation of the earth around the sun. So in order for you to move your REM period, you'll literally have to move the entire solar system. What you will find is that the body does the best with what it can get, but it's always less than optimal. So my advice to you is please go to sleep early. I try to go to sleep by 8:30. Do I fall asleep like a rock as soon as I hit the sack at 8:30? No. Sometimes it takes some time. I don't know, 8:45, maybe 9, somewhere in there I fall asleep, you know? But I'm trying to do my best to gain those hours of REM period. You do alter your circadian rhythm. That does not mean that you alter your deep tissue repair. The ones that I have access to that has been studied say that at night, from 8 to midnight is the best time to have that tissue repair. Okay.
Nurses that work overnight don't ever get that deep tissue repair?
Nurses that work overnight suffer greatly in their health because of that. That is correct. And one of my advices to nurses that work late at night is please do the best you can to switch over to a day cycle. It is a real challenge. Not only nurses, but all health care. And this is a well-known documented part. Now again, the body will compensate because you have the deep tissue repair and you have the light tissue repair. Some of that will happen in the light tissue repair, but that beautiful deep tissue repair that you get with the REM period align with the night and day cycle will never be the same when you offset it. And that has been shown by nurses that after 20, 30 years, because we have had this conversation, they say, Pedro, I just can't, it's just, I function super well just going to sleep, you know, during the day. And I challenged that, and after a little bit of a change, they noticed a huge difference. It's just that so long you have been running in, how can I say, sub-performance, that when you start running on full performance, you're like, feels like a new me. So yes, my dear sister, it's a real challenge for nurses and for physicians. And this is a well-known fact, however, sometimes it's not carried through. Yes.
So you answered 3 questions in just dealing with the keto.
Okay,
What is the
good.
difference between visceral fat and gray fat, and when
Great.
do we have tissue repair? So you
Yeah, I
answered
did not
those.
touch on gray fat for a moment. Not all fat
Okay.
is created equal, but let me just touch on this lightly. So there is this thing about gray fat. What is gray? I thought that it was all fat. Fat is fat, right? No? Well, the problem with this gray fat is the difference between dirty fuel and clean fuel. Okay? So this gray fat is like still fat, but it has been change in the body in such a way that is per se the cleanest fuel that you can burn if you're in ketosis, all right? However, the general fat not only has all of the goodies that are stored, like toxins and etc., but it also has a lot of oxidized stress when it is burned, which is another issue. So how do you get great fat? It's in the cold showers. Have you heard of those before? So the cold showers, especially in the morning before you get going, can help your body turn into that great fat. How else do you get it? Via exercise. It will also make that switch for you. And visceral fat is the first one to put on and is the first one to go. So it's a good thing that it's going to be there and it's going to go eventually. Yes, ma'am.
I need protein, okay? So I do eat chicken and burgers sometimes. Is this so bad to eat that meat?
Yeah, that's a good question. What has more protein, a well-done steak or a bowl of beans?
The bowl of beans.
The bowl of beans has more protein. When you eat that well-done steak, what are you eating? You're eating a couple of things. Number one, you're eating the flesh of the animal that has died in a dramatic way, which has toxins, the hormones, and all of the antibiotic that it was given to that cow while it was alive. You're also eating the blood. Okay, what makes well-done steak red, it's not tomato sauce, is blood. What gives color to the meat is blood. What color is meat with no blood?
Gray.
It's grayish white. If you want to see the color, just take your hand, put your finger in the middle of it, press it, and look at it. That's the color of flesh with no blood. Okay? So kosher meat, which is meat with no blood, looks very different than the chicken at the store. It's this grayish, whitish thing. So my advice is, yes, it is very bad. Yes, we share the clinical studies that are not best. And second, you're eating secondhand protein because they feed the grains to the cow and the chicken so that you can eat the chicken to get what the chicken ate.
So why do you crave it?
Pardon?
Why do you crave it?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that question. It's because our appetites have been perverted. We have perverted appetites. You know, when a woman looks at a man that is completely disrespectful and talks to her in a way that does not respect her as a female, what do they say to that man? You are a pervert, right? You're a pervert, yeah, that's right. What is it? What does that mean? You don't know how to be a gentleman. Your values, your choices are perverted. That's what perverted means. What is right is perceived as wrong, and what is wrong is perceived as right. And so our appetites have been perverted. And so we crave that which destroys us. I mean, listen, triple cheese pizza is amazing. And the heart attack will be amazing too. That's the truth.
Speaking of which,
Speaking of which, okay.
I like cheese, okay? Why can't I eat it?
You can eat it, of course. You can eat all the cheese that you want, but you will also suffer all the consequences for it too. That's the truth, folks. Listen, I don't eat it, and I wouldn't serve it to you in my home because I care for you. I love you. I respect you. I want to give you the best. Can you eat it? Of course you can. Will you suffer the consequences? Of course you will. But why wouldn't you eat it? Well, number one, because high-fat diets are already shown by the clinical studies that I show you with cognitive impairment. If you're a man and you're eating the cheese, you are predispositioning yourself for ED. Okay? And in simple words, that means you will not function. And it will create depression because you will not function. And other members of your family will not be happy because you do not function the way you're supposed to be. Does God intend that for you? No. Not at all. God wants you to enjoy your marriage. God wants you to enjoy intimacy. But if you want to eat cheese, you can do it. You're just not going to work. I mean, it's up to you. I wouldn't do it. It also has casein. What does casein do? It turns on cancer. Unequivocally. Scientifically shown by Dr. Elsenson. My mother died at the age of 55 from ovarian cancer. Do I want you to die from cancer? No. The Lord knows when it's our time to rest. And I respect that from God. I have questions, nonetheless. Nevertheless, I do my best to share with you what is best. The choice is yours. You want to eat cheese? That's okay. You will eat cheese and you will pay for eating cheese. But God does not intend for you to eat cheese. Again, the principles that we read says cheese is unfit for the human stomach. It should have never been introduced there. And it is a food that I believe Satan has created because it literally perverts and interferes with your frontal lobe capacity, shown by clinical data, period. So, I wouldn't use it, but it's up to you. Yes, ma'am.
Good foods for acid reflux diet or laryngeal, pharyngeal reflux?
Of course.
LPR or SP?
Yes, yes, yes. Love it, love it, love it. Why do you get acid reflux? Because your beloved upper sphincter of your stomach has lost the ability to close so that the high chloric acid does not go into the esophagus. How did your poor stomach get to be that way? I'll tell you how it got to be that way. See, your stomach is like this. It's not like this, but it's almost like this, but you get the point. There's the upper sphincter here, there's the esophagus coming into it, and then here, over here, what do you have? The duodenum going into the small intestine, okay? There's an upper and a lower sphincter. They're muscles, literally. They close. And if you were to take 15 milliliters of your acid in your stomach, and I was to drop it in that carpet right there in front of you, it will burn a hole right through it. That's how powerful your acid is, okay? Now, what happens is you take your meal and your mouth is over here and you fill your stomach, which is over here, and you're standing up or sitting down, but however it is, your stomach is like this, right? And then after that, you know, you have this bright idea that you're tired, sleepy, and then you go to sleep, right? And when you go to sleep, you know what happens to your stomach? Oh, it goes like this. And you know what happens to all that content that you had in the stomach? It begins to push on the upper sphincter. And you know what happens when you do that day after day, year after year? Your upper sphincter muscle says, enough is enough, buddy. I'm going to quit. Now the upper sphincter open, that acid goes in and it burns. How do you cure that? Very simple. Have a strong breakfast, have a strong lunch, and don't have dinner. That's it. Acid reflux, kiss goodbye. Try me out. Seriously. It's gone. Why? Because now when you go to sleep, there is no content in the stomach pushing upon it, and therefore nothing to have it there. Now it could get so bad that even when you're upright still, your stomach is crazy and is going through all these things. And so the best thing to do with that, to help kind of calm things down, is to do what is called front water loading. And so what it is that you take about, well, let's say you want to lose some weight, so you kind of combine the two. You would do about 32 ounces of water 30 minutes before your meal. And what that's going to do is going to fill your stomach up with water, okay? It's going to decrease some of the appetite that you have because now you're full of water. And when you get to eat later on, it will have much more of a buffer. okay, for things to go there. There are some people that recommend apple cider vinegar, okay, ACV, half a teaspoon or a teaspoon. I don't generally recommend it like that. I only use it topically when it's needed, but not internally. So water front loading will help you, but the biggest thing is the meal. Again, if you eat those things that create havoc in your stomach, you're going to have issues. What are those things that create havoc in your stomach? Okay. Mix of fruits and vegetables. They create indigestion. When you have vegetables and you have your fruits and you eat them at the same time, there is a difference between the vegetables take far longer to be prepared and moved than the fruits. And therefore, the fruits end up fermenting and then creating this negative effect on it. It will weaken your stomach. That's why we've been told not to do it. Now, of course, there's folks that don't pay attention and they pay the price. But again, make sure that you eat those things that are healthy. Things that create havoc also is high amount of sugars that will basically ferment in your stomach. That will basically create alcohol. Where do you get high amount of sugars? Not only in the sugary things that you might drink, but you also get it in ice cream. So if you wanted to have a natural ice cream, look at the recipe. You can do a frozen banana ice cream, and it's incredible with your breakfast, and it will be fine. And in lunch, just skip it. Oh, I tell you, you should have a Rice Krispie. Talk to my wife, she knows how to do this. It's an incredibly healthy dessert. You will love it. I ration it in like little cubes, and I have a little dessert after my meal. It's amazing. Anyway, you love it. Yes, ma'am.
Can you still get the positive ions from a man-made waterfall that you can with a natural waterfall?
Great question. Yes, you can, because it happens in the act of the water falling. I will say beware of negative ions generator. They smell pretty bad sometimes and don't create the real thing. Best to get your negative ions is walk in the morning before what time? Remember? Before 9 or 10. Better before 9, before the sun goes high, and take deep breath using that 4 to 6 method. If you have the sea near you or have a waterfall that you can even install at home, that does create some negative ions, but not in the same amount that you will get outside by the trees early in the morning. Yes, ma'am.
I sit all day in the job that I have.
Oh, yes.
I want to snack constantly. I do take walks on breaks, but I still find myself concentrating on food.
Yep.
Suggestions?
Yes.
Hands-free eating?
Yes. All right. Yeah, those two things I'll answer. So, number one, sit on your desk alone, recipe for disaster. I used to do that for years. So I got myself a standing desk. And now I stand all day at my desk. My wife can't tell me I just sit at my desk all day long. Anyway, so standing and sitting, having that back and forth is very helpful. So sometimes I'll be tired and I'll sit. Get yourself a standing mat. It'll be very helpful so that you can have that standing and sitting, balance. Now, if you're transitioning and you're feeling like you want to snack all the time and you want to break that habit, okay, you want to just continue to have that. There are two things that you can do as an intervention to break the habit, okay? And so the first one is basically cold water, okay? Why cold water? See, when you take cold water, you break the homeostasis of the body, which is 98.6. And so it has to warm up the water. But the cold water in your stomach will trick your mind thinking that it's food. But it's not food, it's just water. It's warming it up because it draws the blood like it. And take a little walk, okay? Cold water, little walk. Cold water, little walk. That is the key to be able to kind of break that pattern up. And of course, I will say, ask God to give you the ability to break that pattern, because it's an addiction. Food is addictive like any other drug. It's a truth. It's an addiction. So it needs help in that. Yes, ma'am.
Artificial ingredients and chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Nutritional yeast for B12. Complete I'm sorry, something acid, amino acids.
Okay, yes. So let's take it one at a time. Say the first one.
Artificial ingredients and chemicals.
Okay, artificial ingredients and chemicals are their majority used for preservation and shelf life. Okay, so I want you to think about this. What stops the bacteria from decaying the food? The preservatives, right? How do you obtain the nutrition from the food in your gut? By bacterium. It's the bacteria that breaks down the food in your gut. So when the bacteria outside cannot break it down, what do you think is going to happen to the bacteria inside? Can't break it down. It's going to be harmful. It's not designed for your body. And here's the scary thing. Have you heard of saturated fat and unsaturated fat? All right? Those are the natural fats, right? Those are the only two fats you find in nature. You find unsaturated and saturated fat. Have you heard of trans fat? Yes, trans fat is evil, literally. Man-made, it will kill you. Did you know that by law, the manufacturer can put half a gram of trans fat in the container per serving and not have to report it? By law. Which means that you will be eating those whatever that you think they're really healthy, and they have half a gram of trans fat because they need to increase the shelf life. Remember, if no shelf life, it won't keep in the package, it will spoil. And nobody wants to buy spoiled food, right? So again, it goes back to the logistics of learn to do at home these things that are such a blessing, that could be a blessing for you. Okay, next one. In that one.
Did you, nutritional yeast for B12, complete
yes, nutritional
amino
yeast.
acids?
Right, so where does nutritional yeast come from?
Molasses.
And how do they grow it? What's nutritional yeast? Is fungi. That's what you're eating, fungus. Candida, anybody? Yeah, exactly. So nutritional yeast is a deactivated fungi. That's what you're eating, basically. Okay, yes, sir?
It's also an excitotoxin.
Correct, which crosses the brain-blood barrier. Why is that important? Because not everybody gets across the triple B. And when it does get across the triple B, it will then affect your neurons. Okay?
We shouldn't eat the nutritional yeast?
I do not recommend it. As a matter of fact, I have visited various clinics, the cleansing way, which is one of them, which prohibits nutritional yeast for all of their patients because it exacerbates the condition of cancer. So I don't recommend nutritional yeast. I know that it's a Seventh-day tradition to put it in popcorn, but it's not a healthy one. And because you're eating fungi. Do I eat fungus? No. Do I eat mushrooms? No. They're all the same. They're fungi. Okay? And so they're not in the food category that God created. Fungus comes from putrefaction. If I give you a healthy apple plucked from the tree and a rotten apple, which one will you take? The healthy apple, right? You wouldn't take the rotten apple because you think it's rotten. Well, fungus is the same. It's just dehydrated, rotten fungi. That's what it is. So think about what you're eating and where it comes from. And just because it tastes like cheese doesn't make it healthy, right? Yes, sir. Real quick.
Brewer's yeast, also baker's yeast, and Bragg's amino acid are all excitotoxins.
Truly, truly. It's some of those things that we look at that sometimes is introduced into our food sources that are not the best there because they all create some of these things. So there are healthy alternatives that we can make, and we can talk a little bit more about it. The last one was, she had one last substance there and I forgot.
Amino acids.
I gotcha. So like Bragg's amino acids, right? Heard of MSG? Yes, monosodium glutamate, that's right. So when Bragg's is ingested and it goes through the digestive system, it turns into MSG. MSG, in turn, will cause all sort of havocs in your not only immune system, but hormonal system as well. So stay away from these things that are highly processed. Again, is there a Bragg amino acid tree somewhere? Is there a Coca-Cola river somewhere? Is there a 7-Up Mountain Dew river somewhere? No, you don't find it in nature. There's a reason for it. Stick to the original plan. That's my motto, and you'll be blessed. Yes, ma'am.
Limit processed foods. What about TVP?
Oh my goodness. I was having a conversation with a gardener, professional gardener, and I was talking about weeds and how to get rid of weeds. And I said, yeah, I went ahead and just put plastic in my rows, and I'm gonna get rid of my weeds that way. And he went on to tell me about the clinical studies that have been showing that this plastic and all of this basically contaminants are now found in the blood and clogging your arteries, clogging your blood circulatory system. We live in a world where truly, if it's not for the blessing of God, we will not make it. I'm telling you, you look at it left and right, and it's like no way to escape it. So my approach to it is that I do the best I can with what I have. Okay, so all of these things are, in a sense, not the best. There is anything that is highly processed, I stay away from, okay? There are simple, healthy things that you can take. Let your diet be simple. Enjoy the things that God has given you as God has packaged them, and you will be really blessed. And do your best to do your exercise and sweat a lot, because that's how you eliminate a lot of these toxins. Yes, ma'am.
I have pain. I don't know if you want to combine these. I have pain in my joints. Do I have to drink more water? And can you tell me what kinds of exercise I can do? I have arthritis.
Yes, indeed. So pain in the joints, most likely, and if it is the same person that has arthritis, being caused by that painful calcification that happens, that literally creates like needles between your joints. And that is due in its majority for a couple of things. Number one, dehydration. Number two, the junk that you're drinking. I mean, I'm just being straightforward. The stuff that we drink that is junk, that's what it will give you. All of the Mountain Dew, 7-Dew, Monster, Celsius, non-Celsius, all the craziness you can put together, except water. All of the stuff, that's all it does. It is accumulating there and creating those issues because they're not water and they still keep you dehydrated. Okay? Best for you to drink water. That's what God created. Now, what type of exercise you can do is exercise, what is called low impact exercise. The best one that I recommend is the elliptical. Okay, which moves your hands and your feet at the same time. It's like $150 in Walmart. You can't go wrong on it. And just start slow and keep on increasing little by little until you sweat. Remember, if you did not sweat, you did not do exercise. That's the key. That's how you know. Okay, in that regard. There's also something called SAMe, S-A-M-E. Okay, SAMe is the only substance study that I am aware of that can actually regenerate the cartilage between joints. Very, very important. If you take it, you begin to see the difference. 400 milligrams per day, I believe, is the general overall over-the-counter that is sold. Take it once a day. Include the loss of health. Lose some weight because your knees, for every pound that you have over your BMI, feel it 4 times more. Meaning if you are 10 pounds overweight, that means that your knees are carrying 40 pounds worth. And of course, eventually they will wear out. Yes, ma'am.
I have celiac. I can't eat wheat. What can I eat?
Oh, yes. So, For celiac specifically, send me an email, please, for this individual who asked the question. I have a program called Back to Basics. And it's a 30-day program. So it begins with 3 days of water fasting. Don't worry, you're not going to die. And it goes to 27 days of a smoothie, not a juice. It's a smoothie that was created originally by Dr. Sears. And it was called originally the school aid smoothie because he noticed that children were not doing well in school because they didn't have breakfast. So it's a very important meal of the day. So anyway, I can send this individual the course. And once you go through the program, in 30 days, if you do all the program, by God's grace, at the end of it, you will feel much better and be able to eat regular things. Now, wheat in general is not a good thing. Okay, the grains that we have today have been completely and entirely manipulated. Okay, if I show you grains pictures of what it was before and the grains that we look right now, it looks like a human with 10 heads. Literally, because the grain stock were single stock, were beautiful. Now you have grain stocks that are multiple stocks in one, and it's just completely hybridized, not what you want. There are such thing as ancient grains that you can get, and so on and so forth, that are much better. My advice is learn to eat all the varieties that is not wheat, okay? So like gluten-free bread that you can make at home, because the ones you buy in the store are just sugar cookies. I'm serious. So learn to make it at home. I have a recipe that I literally toss the ingredients in the broth making machine, press a button, go to my office, and when I come back, it's done. Can't beat that.
What do you eat for breakfast?
Oh, my dear sister, you must have missed the morning one. I said it. So what do I eat for breakfast? I eat a bowl of fruits with some oatmeal on top of it, right? And I chew it well. Literally, that's what I eat for breakfast. And then I accompany it by, oh yes, and seeds. Whatever fits in my fist. For seeds, I put it on top of my food. I practice hand-free chewing. So this is how it goes. It's very simple. If you saw me eat today, you saw it in action. I serve all of my food that I'm going to eat at once. This is very important. Don't serve yourself in different sections, but all at once. And then I sit at the table, and whenever I prepare my spoon or my fork, and I eat it, and then I put it down, and I have nothing in my hands until I finish chewing. Okay. Once I finish chewing, then I can grab the fork to prepare the next bite. Let me explain you the physiology response behind it. Most people eat like this. They are really hungry. They serve themselves a mountain of food, and they get there, and they're like, right? Come on, you know it's true, right? So what happens is you put your spoon into your mouth, you begin to chew, you look at the food, and your stomach is telling you, you're hungry. Go get the next one. And you start preparing the next one. And lo and behold, before you chew that thing 3 times, you got the next one ready. So what do? You swallow it so that the teeth in your stomach can continue the chewing, right? Wrong, because there are no teeth in your stomach. You lose the enzymes that are in the salivary glands, and you do not get the nutritional value that you can out of it. So, hands-free chewing is very simple. You take a bite, and you put it down, and you cannot pick the utensil up until there is no food in your mouth. You finish chewing. Then you can pick it up, prepare the next one, repeat the exercise. You know what it led to? It led that now I truly can enjoy my food. If you saw me, I eat slow. Believe me, it wasn't like that before. Okay, but I eat slow because I enjoy my food. I enjoy talking to my wife, those around it. I enjoy my food. You know, I can chew it thoroughly and be able to eat. Now, there's also something very important. In your stomach, you have receptors in the lower and upper part of the stomach. These receptors are wired to your brain, so that when the part of the stomach gets, the food content gets to that level, the brain gets a signal, hey, mister, I'm done. I got enough. Okay? How long does it take for that signal to travel?
20 minutes.
For the receptor to trigger properly? It takes sometimes somewhere upon 10 to 20 minutes in that trajectory. What happens is if you eat too fast, that receptor doesn't get the opportunity to be triggered, fast enough, and you end up overeating. Okay, so if you put two of your fists together like this, that's the size of your stomach. Okay, this is the size of my stomach. And if you're smaller, it'll be smaller. If you're, taller, it'll be taller. And so that's about a quart worth of food. Now you can eat more because the stomach would enlarge 4 times more, remember? But that doesn't mean that you're doing yourself a service, but rather a disservice, because now your stomach can be tired, right? It's almost like carrying heavy logs every day. At some point, you're going to get really tired and get really clumsy. So that's exactly what happens to the stomach. Yes, ma'am.
Pedro.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the grain shed in Spokane? They sell old grains.
Oh, do they? Okay.
My cousin wrote the Department of Agriculture years ago and asked them if they had any heirloom grain seeds, and they sent him a whole bunch.
Great.
And he started growing it and harvesting it.
Wow, what a blessing. I was not aware of that. Thank you for making us know. Talk to the gentleman in DAV. He knows how to get some ancient grains, and that's good stuff. Move your grains. Yes.
Last one.
Thank you.
What helps with breathing? I'm out of breath a lot. What can help me?
So if you're out of breath a lot, it could be 2 things. It could be a cardiovascular issue. The pressure in your heart could back up to your lungs, okay? So have your heart checked. Do a 12-lead EKG by a professional. Have your heart checked. This could be an indicator of something worse. If it is indeed because of upper respiratory systems or problems, then you want to cleanse the airways. Now, if it is upper respiratory issues, so talking about all this area here in the nostril area coming down, then the best way is to bring about 1 liter of water to boil. Once you brought it to boil, put 6 drops of eucalyptus essential oil and take deep breath of that steam that's coming up in about 1 foot worth of a distance. And that will give you that cleansing that you need. There's also something called the neti pot, or Dr. Nelson, I think it is, that has the squishy bottle that you can put up your nose, basically, pretty much, with a saline solution. That will do the same. I can teach you how to do the saline solution. You don't have to buy the packages. I don't. I just have the squeezy bottle. But anyway, it's just easy to do, and you can do it, and it cleanses the upper respiratory way. If it is then back in the lungs, then we have to look a little bit more as to why. What is the issue? Is it that we have liquid in the lungs? Is it that we have mucus build upon in the airways? We got to kind of dig a little bit further to see what it is. Do we need to thin that mucus away? Do we need to, what do we need to do to help? So I need to know more to be able to give more precise answer. Okay? All right, thank you so much. I know you've been very, very patient. So I believe I'll pass it over to my dear sister to close us, and then tomorrow, for those that have been registered, we can have that lectures, or not lectures, those consultations. And for those that could not make it tomorrow, I think there is a list for today as well.
So, can you raise your hand? Did anybody that wanted the free consultation tomorrow sign up for it? I just wondered if... Did you want a free consultation? Okay, there's one person up there. I'm inviting you to come. Mrs. Naranjor, she has the sign up if you want that. Maybe what we're going to do now, we're going to close in prayer, and then you can meet her outside and you can sign up for that. Were you blessed today? I know I certainly have been, and I want to thank the Naranjors very much for coming and and spending their time with us and sharing the information that God has given you. I thought I overheard that you are having a trip to India soon. How soon is that? Do you mind us asking?
We're leaving on the 29th and coming back on the 16th. We're going to have 2 full medical clinics in 2 parts of India, and so we're leaving in less than 2 weeks.
Okay, we'd like to have prayer for you.
Thank you.
For that, and then we are going to be dismissed. By the way, if you want a free consultation, please meet Mrs. Naranjor outside to sign up on the clipboard. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you so much for this information, but we want to internalize it and live it, so we're asking for help. We're asking for overcoming power, and we're asking for strength to stay away from those things that we know are harmful to our bodies. I'm also asking that you be with the Naranjos as they go to India to open those clinics. They're leaving on the 29th and they're coming back on the 16th, I believe we heard. We ask not only for traveling mercies, but for the healing power that's in Christ to attend them, so that men and women can be healed and can give their lives to Jesus. We're also asking that you be with their children and their family while they're gone. Now we ask, Lord, that as we continue with the program tomorrow morning, that your children can be blessed individually. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.